Everybody to the September 7th meeting of the Budget Finance and Investment Committee. Hope everybody got a chance to review the minutes from the August 10th meeting, and if so, I'll entertain a motion to approve those.
Motion to approve.
Thank you, Commissioner Allen.
Second.
Commissioner Ely, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Investment report. Mr. Beatty, welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We didn't have any bids this last month, but our LGIP rate jumped up a little bit, or I won't say jumped, eased up a little bit to 99 basis points. So again, that puts us at our effective rate of 1.25%.
Any questions, Mr. Beatty?
Motion to approve the report is presented.
Thank you, Commissioner Allen.
Second.
Commissioner Baum, I believe, won that right.
Commissioner Sheffield gets so excited about these high rates, just almost more than he can.
I was just thinking that was a heck of a report tonight.
It is.
At least it's positive.
It is, yeah.
We've set another record for the year. That's as high as it's been.
Yeah, that's as high as it's been now for,
Every month he can say that as it goes up.
that's probably the highest we've been in 5 years.
Okay.
6 years. Oh, no, probably 7 or 8.
Let's not get too cocky, we don't want to see. All those in favor of approving the report say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. We got general fund budget transfer for the trustee.
Yes, sir.
We could put this at the bottom of the agenda. How do you get everything at the top of the agenda? I guess you eat lunch with the budget director.
And there's certain questions I don't ask. It is, I think 10,297.
247.
247 out of postage into, was it services?
Other contract.
Other contract services. This is, we're contracting out our mailing of tax bills because they're able to group those for us and run them through a program that saves us considerably on postage and on grouping them. So the savings in postage just about pays for everything else. So it's really a nice program. So we're moving it from what we had in postage to pay for the services, which will be our envelopes. We're able to put a return envelope in the bill, printing of the bills, the mailing them, and the savings in the postage offsets the, like I say, pays for everything else that we would have had to pay for. So that we did that with the delinquent mailing and doing that with this one.
People with multiple bills, will they be in one bill now or still be separate envelopes?
They'll be in one. As long as names and addresses
Yeah.
stay the same, they will come in one. And so that will save us, we save about 9 cents on a single envelope. But if we're able to group, 3, 4, 5 into one envelope, instead of paying $2.50, you'll pay 69 cents or whatever that is. So that begins to save considerably when you have multiples.
Any questions, Mr. Beatty?
Did you do this yourself before, in-house?
The assessor's office has helped us do that in the past, and we did the delinquent. And I think the assessor's office is working on having where they can save on the postage in the future. So we'll analyze. But this year it saved us. It saves us the labor. We send the file, and they do all the printing, and the assessor's office feeds us, and Brad in the IT department, they work really hard to get all these files straight, and we're able, like I say, to put a return envelope, which hopefully we'll do in the future, which seems to make it a lot more convenient for people. And just, if you don't mind, we've talked about it, we'll talk about it in the future. We have become the collector for the town of Smyrna. And so for those of you who may be watching who are in the city of Smyrna, your bill will come out on the county bill. So it'll have the county amount, it'll have the city amount, and then a total. But we're able to mail that as one. So again, it didn't increase our cost, made a considerable savings to Smyrna. Citizens of Smyrna can just come to one place to do their transactions. And so that'll start with the billing the 1st of October.
Was there any way for you to put any kind of messaging in that so they don't open up the bill from the county and think, oh my gosh, my taxes have gone up this much, still expecting to get one from Smyrna?
It's got a note that we're collecting for Smyrna, and it's got it broken out, the county tax rate, the county tax amount, the city tax rate, And we're going to work on social media and on the county and the town of Smyrna television to let people know what's coming. We'll get some calls, but then there is a note that we're collecting for the town of Smyrna on the billing. But, and we're going to try we're working a kind of a public relations campaign so people will understand where to go and why it's different.
Need a motion to approve the budget transfer.
Motion to approve the request.
Thank you, Commissioner Allen.
Second.
Commissioner Ely. Call roll.
Commissioner Allen?
Aye.
Commissioner Baum?
Yes.
Commissioner Ely?
Yes.
Commissioner Schaefer?
Yes.
Commissioner Jordan?
Yes. Thank you, lady. Fund condition report, Ms. Nolan.
Okay, we'll start with the development tax. In August, we received $573,000. That brings our total for the year to, I don't think that, yeah, sorry, I'm back up. $366,000 for August, and our total for the year to $570,750. Sorry, I read that wrong line. We budgeted $3 million to collect this year. We'll move into cash balances. At the end of August, we had $224,546,000, with $181,567,000 being in operating funds, $42,979,000 being borrowed funds. And I'd like to spend a little bit of time on this report, and it's the next page is what I want to talk about, but this is, I've put it out there because sometimes I think it's easier to look here than it is on this screen. On the cash report, directing your attention to future elementary school, it's in the bottom, 2016 future elementary, the total is $11,844,325. Now, come to this page. That 11,844 you see again, and about right there. So we're going to talk about transferring cash. The projects have already been approved. You see negative balances. That means we need the cash. We haven't borrowed yet. We have been running on that money that the school has forwarded. Next month, I plan to bring to you the resolution to borrow the money. But before we do this, I want to make some transfers within projects. So in the line, in the box, starting where it says variance between source and budget, you see negatives, and you see the positive, the $11,844,325 future elementary projects. There's also a future middle school project of $15,660. That means that we have funds in excess of what the project is. And of course, there's no project for those since they're future. Okay, so coming down, the one thing I want to do is move the $15,660 future middle school project and transfer it to the Laverne Middle Annex. That's the first line down the bottom. The next one, in October of 2016, you approved the David Urey renovation, and we needed $2,918,000. We want to transfer from the future elementary projects to that project and have that funded. The next one is Roy Waldron. That one was approved in March of 2017. That project, that was just some engineering costs. So that's elementary school, so we're going to move that from the future elementary into that project. The next line is the elementary portion of the middle schools. So 1/3 of what we need to borrow for those, we're going to go ahead and use this elementary money, so we will not be borrowing any elementary money for projects. So for 1/3 of the $12,875,000 is $4,291,667. We're going to transfer that out. Laverne Middle Annex. This $15,660, you don't have the report in front of you, but they've already spent a little more. I'm just going to put 1/3 of 350,000 and transfer that out of future middle schools. So when we get all that done, come down to need to borrow, the 86,722,344 is what we need to borrow for projects. That will leave us for future elementary projects, 4,167,000. That will be in the fund. What I'll come back next month will be for this, and I've sent this to our financial advisors. They will round up for cost and bring us, prepare the resolution for us. So I am requesting approval of these transfers of monies to projects.
You've heard the recommendation of the finance director.
Motion to approve the request.
Thank you, Commissioner Schaefer. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Commissioner Baum.
All the money that's shared, to be shared, has been shared.
That's what this is doing. Yes.
If we talk to the bond advisors and we sure we want to pull the trigger on this much at one time, it's instead of breaking up over 2 years. Because at one point in time we talked about whether to do it all now or wait because the projections are interest rates are rising. But I know you all have had that conversation. I'm just trying to catch up.
Yes. Actually, he brought it forward to say, you might want to go ahead and do it soon.
Okay. So that's
So
where
in the fall.
we had the discussion about whether to break this up over a couple
And
of years.
if you remember, what I was projecting was 90 million a year for the next 4. So really, this isn't a surprise.
Not in
So-
advance, yeah.
Yeah.
So if you're,
But this pays for the high school, and the high school's a 2-year project
yes,
and stuff, so it'll take a while to spend that money. That's
Right.
all I was asking about.
right.
Curiosity, when's the Federal Reserve Board meet again? Well, won't that affect us if they raise the prime?
Yeah, possibly. Would.
Maybe.
The last time they stayed flat when everybody kind of thought they'd go up, so.
Yeah.
Mr.
You
Lyon
got
probably
the economist
knows
right
better
beside
than
you, he can probably tell
I
you.
don't know what that date is, I should. Are they gonna raise it? I'd rather know that more.
He's not on board either.
I guess we'll find out.
We've got a motion and a second to make these amendments, because this is just moving money around anyway.
It's really applying the future elementary projects money into projects and fund those that we can.
If there's no further questions, call the roll.
Commissioner Allen?
Aye.
Commissioner Baum?
Yes.
Commissioner Ely?
Yes.
Commissioner Schaefer?
Yes.
Commissioner Jordan?
Yes. Did you finish your report on the?
I-
We're still working on your report.
Well, so,
Yeah.
I just wanted to talk about that since it's relevant to all these cash balances and moving that monies out of that 11 million into various projects it'll clean some of those up. The next thing, unless anybody has anything else to do with that, with the cash report, I'll go on to the revenue review, which is really only 1 month worth of revenue coming in because July revenue pretty much rolls into the previous years. And so really, I present it to you, but there's really not a whole lot to talk about with 1 month of revenue coming in.
Any questions on Ms. Nolan's report? And if not, we'll entertain a motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
Thank you, Commissioner Allen.
Second.
Commissioner Ely? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. All you got?
It was all
All right. Risk management. Ms. Street, welcome.
Good evening. I've got quite a few things to cover tonight. Okay, so we'll start with Fund 264. At the end of August, expenses for Fund 264 was $5,032,922, with revenue at $1,602,027. Again, it's the time of year, we're not overly concerned about that at this point. You can see on the variance that the variance by month is a negative 3.4 million, and the calendar fiscal variance is a negative 1.7 million. When we look at the next page, which gives the calendar period year to date, you'll see that for the prior period, our revenue was $38,902,407 compared to current, which is $41,891,335. Expenses for prior period was $45,415,792 compared to current of $44,164,387. For fiscal year review, year to date, our revenue is $3,114,019 for prior period compared to current of $2,987,693, and expenses on prior period was $12,546,670, and current period expenses came in at $11,038,268. Page 3 of the report is just a repeat of the information that we've just covered. If you look at the second column, it will give you the 2017 calendar year revenue versus expense comparison, and you'll see that overall we are in a negative 2.2 million in terms of expenditures versus revenue. And then from a fiscal year perspective, we are 8 million in the negative currently. We'll start picking those premiums back up from the Board of Education and offset some of that variance that you see there. Within Fund 266, ending in August, we ended at a calendar year to date of $280,307 compared to prior year to date of $77,449. And there's one additional report. As I understand, a request was made at the end of last meeting for a report to begin being included for county attorney expenses, and I've provided that to you tonight. If you'll look at that report, you will see that last year in the month of July, county attorney expenses, and this is only those fees paid to Hudson Reed and McCreary, came in at $55,316. This year in July, they were $17,044. In August last year, we paid $49,818. This year, we're at $11,973.
And that's for work on the claims, but it's not any kind of settlement payout.
Correct. It's just legal fees, no settlement.
Any questions of Melissa on the report?
Motion to approve is presented.
Thank you, Commissioner Allen.
Second.
Commissioner Baugh? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. We've got a correction of the 2018 retiree health premiums and discussion of employee health premium deduction.
So we passed the 2018 medical rates back in April this year. And in preparing for our annual enrollment period, it was noticed that the documents that had been prepared by Willis and presented at the insurance committee meeting had an error on it, and that followed through the various committees. And that error is in regards to the pre-65 retirees. Those total rate amounts should match the active employees' total rate amounts. And when we started looking at the exhibits, even though we had passed the proper rate increase, we noticed that the total rates included in the exhibit for the pre-65 retirees did not match. So what I've presented to you tonight is the 2018 retiree rates modified to have the pre-65 total rates match the active rates that were passed. And the splits on county employee portions are reflected in what I provided with you, or to you tonight.
What was the change in cost for the county?
For the county overall, I don't have a total calculation in what that would be, but what I can tell you is what I have here, just to give you an idea of what the numbers look like. So as an example, like on the copay, you can see that the individual rate went to $642.22, and what had been presented previously was $629.87. So you'll see, you know, we're looking at, when I look at all of these, it's a $20, $30 difference in terms of the overall premium. And our pre-65 retirees are around 150 people.
It's a
So
relatively
it's a small group of people, so it wouldn't be aggregated, it wouldn't be a tremendous effect to what the, you know, the premium pool would be from the county side of it, but it will have some impact.
Well, the wishes of the committee.
Motion to approve the revised rates.
Thank you, Commissioner Allen. Commissioner Ely. Further discussion?
This is on the county general that we're looking at, right?
These are only pre-65 retirees, so it's retiree rates only, right? Nothing has changed in terms of what was passed in regards to the rate of increase. It's just reflecting the active rates and the pre-65 rates, total rates no match.
And this has already been through the insurance committee, I take.
It has.
Any further questions or discussion? Call the roll.
Commissioner Allen?
Aye.
Commissioner Baum?
Yes.
Commissioner Ely?
Yes.
Commissioner Schaefer?
Yes.
Commissioner Jordan?
Yes. Motion passed.
The other thing that you have in front of you tonight is the 2018 Rutherford County insurance rates monthly premium. And this reflects the active rates for both County General and Board of Education, as you will see. Not this last meeting, the meeting before, it was brought for discussion and voted on to transition from an active enrollment process to a passive enrollment process. And what that means is, for the last several years, we've required employees to go in and to actively select what benefits that they want. And the reason we've done that is because it requires them to do an annual review. People become complacent and they will allow their benefits just to roll over without looking at rate increases, what the needs of their family are, and things like that. And there is a financial impact to the plans when that happens and to the employees' pockets. But it was best felt that the passive enrollment process would be better for employees, and therefore it was voted on and approved to go to a passive enrollment process. So the other complaint that we hear, and as a reminder, we had about 100 people who had been enrolled in 2016 that didn't complete the 2017. So we had a pretty good adherence rate to people that went in and did that. But this year, the medical will roll over. They won't have to do anything. The only benefit that they will lose will be the FSA benefit. And then if they want to make any changes, life and things like that, they'll have to do that. So that's one complaint that we hear during annual enrollment is about that. The other thing that we hear about is the process of the wellness fee. And when it was originally presented, the Know Your Numbers campaign, it was recommended to the committee that we actually raise the premium tables like majority employers do by the $25 county, $30 Board of Education amount, and then people who complete it receive a premium reduction. We received a significant rate increase that year, and the committee felt that they couldn't add that additional amount onto it. We have in the high 90s percentile for completion of the wellness campaign, which is way above national average. You generally see about 50% in that. So, you know, we've made good progress on that program. But as we are, you know, moving to what I call a kinder, gentler risk management department from an employee's perspective, I thought, let's take one for my team, and I recommended that we lift the table of premiums and we start doing premium reductions. We had recommended it first year, we recommended it second year, and I recommended it again. This time it passed. So what you have in front of you are revised rates for the active employees, and what it reflects is the employee portion with wellness, which is what you would have passed back in April. And the without wellness is basically the lifted table. So you can see that we've lifted the employee portion on county general by $25, and we've increased it by $30 on the Board of Education side. The employee will see that rate during open enrollment, and then we will reduce it down to the with wellness fee once we receive the report from Cigna of those who actually completed it. So
But
we're
there'll be
ask-
some who don't complete it, and then they'll be paying the higher premiums.
Yeah, just like they are today, but today they just pay the premium plus an additional that's noted as a wellness fee on their
Mhm.
payroll, and this will just say health premiums, and it will be that higher number.
So how long did we go away from the passive? 1 year from passive to active, now we're going back to passive again? Did I understand that correctly?
So
On the enrollment?
So I've been here 7 years, and when I first came, it's been consistent for the last several years on the active
I
enrollment. piece.
thought we tried to go to the active.
We did go to the active.
Yeah, but now we're going back to passive.
Correct, right. And so we've done several things over the years, which
Yeah.
is, if you don't go in, then I think that it was road to an HRA the first year that I was here, 'cause, you know, and then it was you stay in the plan that you're in, and then we moved to the active plan. But now we're going back to the passive, which is you stay in the plan that you're in.
I'm going to support whatever the insurance committee brings within reason, but at some point in time, I know we've tried to hold the line in the past, but you got to take care of your business. You know, and and you know, and we're hold their hands and everything else, but it takes a matter of moments. Not beating a dead horse here, apparently. It's already been through the insurance committee, but, you know, I mean, if people complain and they're getting a great deal on their insurance, and they won't take 5 minutes to take care of their business, and then they fuss at you about it. You know, and I know I'm preaching to the choir here, maybe. I see Miss Hickerson out here getting a little red face, maybe. But I'll leave it be at that.
But I do think this approach with the inflating the rates and then giving the premium reduction will be more palatable for employees.
Well, on this wellness fee, or, well, not.
Premium reduction.
Yeah, premium reduction. So is there any objective criteria how you can tell if it's really helping as to those employees as to the ones that don't go through the wellness program?
So we've actually done a review, and I can bring some of that information. We shared it, I don't know, it's been several months with the insurance committee in terms of certain disease states and what we see in the impact of that. But the short answer is yes, we do see that.
It's the objective criteria you can check.
Yes. Mhm.
But as each group as a whole, I assume.
When you say each group as a whole.
Well, I'm saying the ones that, there's 2 groups there. One went through the wellness program and one didn't. And it's
So we
much
didn't
smaller.
review it from an individual claims perspective to where we broke the employee population out, looked at their individual claims. What we looked at is what are we averaging in terms of certain disease states on a spend rate versus what we would, you would typically see on a national average. The thing is, most of our people participate, so it's such a small percentage that don't. We can see from the results of that study that it is driving the cost down just based on the engagement process.
About 10% don't participate in the wellness part now. We'll change this so that they get a discount instead of a penalty for not participating, and then I guess in a year we can see whether that 10% goes up or down, to see whether the punitive approach works better or this approach, which is more of a reward.
Right. There's some people that we talk to that just say they
Really?
won't do it. The number can't be big enough.
It wasn't quite 10% though. I mean, you
No,
said
it's
only
it's
100.
over, yeah. Well, no, that was the annual enrollment process. It was around 95%. So we were
Oh,
looking at
okay.
about
I thought you said
5%. Yeah, it was in the 90th percentile, yeah.
It's really remarkable
Over
getting that kind of
95%. It
participation.
is.
Do you think you'll get that same kind of participation with this model as we did with the other?
I think so, because people understand it well enough to know that there is a financial consequence either way. I mean, whether it's an award, reward, or it doesn't matter how you label it, it's the same amount of money. And they're going to understand that if they've done it routinely, that it does affect their pockets somehow.
We tried to stick, now we're trying to carrot.
Right. I think it's always better with the carrot. Do we need
It
to
says
vote?
discussion, are you ready for a motion on this? Has this been approved by the insurance
It has.
committee? Because I know it's near on the agenda says discussion, so.
These are the same rates that we approved in April. It's
Yes.
just a breakout now with a inflated rate.
Right, so if you look at the with
Without.
wellness, all of that is the same. The only thing
Right.
that is really new on this is the without wellness, and it has that inflated rate.
It all washes out the same price.
We're just really approving the structure of it
Right.
as opposed to the rate.
Right, previously when the wellness program was introduced, the fee approach was approved, so really what you're approving now is the premium reduction approach. That's what you need to approve.
You've heard the recommendation of the insurance director. What's the
Oh.
wish of the committee?
I'll make a motion to approve as presented.
Thank you, Commissioner Allen.
Second.
Commissioner Schaefer. Further discussion? Charlie, you look confused. I know I'm confused.
Well, to not do it this way was very disruptive to those families because they would be kicked out of the insurance basically, right? I mean,
Well, no,
Active.
what it would be disruptive to,
not this way, I'm talking about the old way. We
the
just-
passive piece of it, yes.
Right,
Mhm.
right. So it's better for them to just be passive and just let it roll.
For the
Yeah.
100 or so, yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So this is actually an advantage for the employees, to keep them out of your office screaming.
Begging for insurance.
Yes, begging for insurance. Yeah,
Begging for an appeal.
yeah.
Yeah.
I just worry about the thousands that won't take a look.
But there's a hassle factor too that you have to weigh, so I think this is still better.
Call the roll.
Commissioner Allen? Commissioner Baum?
Yes.
Commissioner Ely?
Yes.
Commissioner Schaefer?
Yes.
Commissioner Jordan?
Yes. I want to ask, I was being a sarcastic person, ma'am, was this unanimous out of the insurance committee?
Which one?
The last one?
The wellness was, yes.
Oh.
Mhm. The other one had a lot of discussion.
That was just for my own benefit, I appreciate it. Do you have anything else?
If you'd come back to that committee, you could.
You're doing a great job. You're doing a great job.
You got that clip notes.
Yeah.
Is that all? All right.
Thank you, Melissa, you have a good evening.
Thanks.
Got a highway fund budget amendments. And we got a whole crew here, so.
Good evening, everyone.
Mr. Brooks, Ms. Hickerson, how are y'all tonight?
Doing well. Thanks for asking.
The $350,000 one
He's
listed
first.
first on here, so
Okay.
we'll start with that.
Okay. Okay, this $350,000 is, will be a decrease in our ending fund balance from last year to purchase some new equipment that we have need for, and when we saw what we were able to carry over and put into fund balance, we felt like it was a good time to try to satisfy some of those needs. So this is what that would be doing.
We need to take these separately.
I think you can take them off because they're all related to
We don't have
the
any-
highway department.
Objection from the committee, well, let's let them go through all these and we can take them at once, or so desired, we can break them out. So if you don't mind, we'll just go on to the next one unless there are any questions on the first.
The next one is your employee.
Okay.
Employee changes.
The other one is to make whole some employees that we felt like responsibilities had gone up on. So this is a salary increase for 3 employees and the associated benefits that go along with that increase. $9,780 total.
Any questions on that one? Well,
The last one is to 2 increases, one to revenue and one to expenditures, or then that same one, 2 expenditures to fund a state aid project that we have slated to do hopefully this fall. So this money would be coming from TDOT, from our state aid account into revenue, and then be written out to the contractor once the job is completed.
Money in, money out.
Money in, money out. Yes, sir. And this is how we've always done the state aid since I've been associated with highway departments. It's the same thing.
Any questions on any of the three amendments?
On that last one, is all that money going towards a singular project? or
Yes.
What is the
Yes.
project?
It's a very large project. It's Halls Hill Pipe. And it's 13, a little over 13 miles, so it's, as state aid road projects go, this is a large one.
Is this Improve Act money from the state, or is it not necessarily from that?
Well, it's the same account. It's the same account. I think this is probably going to come out of our state aid account before that Improve Act money went in. So, but yes, that's the exact same account, yes. The Improve Act money was put in to this account. They felt like that was the best way to enter it into our revenue stream.
Is it gonna widen Halls Hill Pike there, or
no, sir.
shoulders, or?
No, sir. Well, there will be shoulder stone involved. As you know, I know you're familiar with it, Halls Hill Pipe is difficult. You know, a lot of it's elevated and there's really not room for any significant shoulder. But this would be to do some milling over the two big bridges so that we don't increase the weight load that's already on those bridges, and then repave the entire thing. So it's really just a resurface project. That's what it is.
Where does 13 miles take you to?
It starts at the end of the existing curb and gutter when you leave town.
Okay.
It starts right there and goes all the way to Milton. So.
Any other questions? If not, we'll entertain a motion on all three, or we'll break them out if so desired.
Make a motion to approve all three.
Thank you, Commissioner Schaefer.
Second.
Commissioner Baum. Further discussion? Call the roll.
Commissioner Allen?
Aye.
Commissioner Baum?
Yes.
Commissioner Ely?
Yes.
Commissioner Schaefer?
Yes.
Commissioner Jordan?
Yes.
Thank you all.
Thank you a lot.
Any questions?
Y'all have a good evening.
Thank you very much.
General purpose school fund budget amendments. Mr. Sanders. Well,
How we going?
go ahead.
We have two general purpose school budget amendments. The first one is a CTE equipment grant. We were awarded $556,300.49 for a CTE, vocational new name for vocational equipment grant by the state of Tennessee. The grant is for the advanced manufacturing programs of study and the health science programs of study, and it needs to flow through the general purpose school budget amendment, general school budget, so we need to amend it. Our motion is to amend the 2017-18 general purpose school budget by $556,301 in vocational equipment revenues, account 46640, and to increase expenditures for vocational equipment, account 71300-730, by this $556,301. And this was divvied up across the state, and their projection was we'd get about 120,000. And Tyra Pilgrim was aggressive in what she asked for, and we got all but 10,000 of it approved. So,
awesome.
yeah.
Without objection, just put them both together.
All right. The second one is, and we mentioned this one during the budget process, this is a request to transfer $2.5 million from our unassigned fund balance to committed for education for the Rockvale High operating costs when that school opens in the 2019-2020 school year. The amendment is to transfer $2.5 million for unassigned fund balance in the general purpose school fund to Committed for Education for Rockdale High, and the board and the commission will then be able to appropriate these funds in the 2019-2020 budget toward the higher operating costs we'll incur with the opening of this school. Recommended motion to amend $2,500,000 from the general purpose school fund unassigned fund balance, account 39,000, to account 34,655, Committed for Education, in order to help fund Rockville High operating costs in the 2019-2020 general purpose school fund budget.
Any questions of Mr. Sanders?
I'm glad we're doing this. It's a good way to plan ahead.
Of course, the second year in, we're going to have a $5 million shortfall.
Delay it a year, you know.
Maybe y'all can just try to find a second year operating fund budget, you know, a
That'd be a
line item.
challenge, but, yeah.
I make a motion to approve as presented.
Thank you, Commissioner Allen.
Second.
Commissioner Ely. Further questions or discussion? Call the roll.
Commissioner Allen?
Aye.
Commissioner Baum?
Yes.
Commissioner Ely?
Yes.
Commissioner Schaefer?
Yes.
Commissioner Jordan?
Yes. Motion passes. And we've got the educational
And
capital project fund budget.
this is our
amendment.
Fund 177, which is funded by the property tax. This year, we have 4 carryover projects from the 2016-17 capital projects budget that weren't complete as of June 30th. These projects total $1,197,556 and are listed below: central office flooring, playground replacement at Laverne Primary, roof replacement repairs at Riverdale, high school track maintenance repair at Smyrna High. Each year, the outstanding purchase orders for these incomplete projects are liquidated on June 30. Then we bring forward an amendment to take the leftover funds out of fund balance committed for capital projects in order to rebudget these projects so they can be finished. The opening fund balance for this fund was $4,215,000, and after this amendment will be $3,017,666. And Caitlin, want to remind y'all, we keep a healthy fund balance for the size of this fund because we get almost no revenue until the property taxes come in. And that way we can start our projects July 1. And we have indeed been working on these projects. Yeah, they're not just going to start when this amendment is passed, but that this will free up money in that fund so we can get this year's projects done. Our recommended motion is to amend $1,197,556 from the Fund 177 account 34,685 committed for capital projects, and to increase the budget for maintenance and repair services 91,300-335 by the same $1,197,556 in order to rebudget the incomplete 2016-17 projects so they can be finished.
Motion to approve.
Thank you, Commissioner Allen.
Second.
Commissioner Schaefer. Further questions or discussion?
I'm just going, the roof. My question on
Yes.
that, there's repairs on, how much for one of these high schools we have now, Riverdale's all single story, correct?
Right.
Okay. How much does a roof cost on
I
that?
don't know on the entire, this is part of it.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I'd have to get with Mr.
Well,
Clark.
what I'm getting at is, the thing in the back of my mind says when the Stewart's Creek complex started, that was about the first metal roofs.
Siegel High, I'm sorry, Siegel Middle School, I think, had some metal, I think.
But we've had next to no problems with that, right?
Well, again, it's kind of, it gets into the age,
Yeah.
and it is a more expensive roof. It should have a longer life. So I am not aware of any issues with those.
It's probably not a fair question to ask you this.
Oakland and Riverdale are 45 years old now.
I know, but it's had something to do with it before.
72.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
mhm. Yeah.
It cost $1 million a piece to build, if I remember
Done to their
correctly.
roofs too in the high school, so that's why.
That's what blows my mind. If I'm not mistaken, I remember scuttlebutt from a school board member at the time talking about those schools costing $1 million a piece. Our current schools, 73, 68, somewhere in the 70s.
Yeah.
Yeah, 68 or something like
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
I did get an attendance update from Mr. Odom. Right after lunch, we were at 48,829 students, K-12. And if you throw in pre-K, you're well over 45.
Did you read that number correctly? 48?
I'm sorry, no, thank you, Mayor. 44,800.
Okay.
I was wondering how it said 48 and you thought you were over 40.
Yes.
Well, no, you're over 45, then you're going backwards.
44.
We want to emphasize the cost of this growth, don't we? Yeah.
What's the increase then over the Labor Day last year then?
About 2.7%. I'm kind of relieved to see it. Yeah, that,
1,300.
yeah. Yeah. Yeah, we don't need it to be 45% again.
Well, we've got the recommended motion. We've got a motion and a second, haven't we? Lost track. Any further discussion? Call the roll.
Commissioner Allen?
Aye.
Commissioner Bond?
Yes.
Commissioner Ely?
Yes.
Commissioner Schaefer?
Yes.
Commissioner Jordan?
Yes. Motion passes.
Thank you very
Jeff.
much.
Mr. Gregory, we've got acceptance of grant from ASPCA and related budget amendment for Pauls. Welcome.
First is to receive and then budget back out a grant from $8,000 from the ASPCA. It's to send our vet staff to Humane Alliance spay neuter training in North Carolina.
Wish of the committee.
I move for approval.
Thank you, Commissioner Ely.
Second.
Commissioner Allen. Further questions or discussion? Call the roll.
Commissioner Allen?
Aye.
Commissioner Bond?
Yes.
Commissioner Ely?
Yes.
Commissioner Schaefer?
Yes.
Commissioner Jordan?
Yes. And we've got a
It's throwing me off, these two empty spots.
general fund budget transfer for Pauls.
This is to take $10,000 from our part-time personnel, move that over into our vet services line. We budgeted for a part-time veterinarian. We were unable to fill that position with a part-time employee, but someone who wishes to work as a contract vet. So this moves more money over so that we can pay them.
Motion to approve the request.
Thank you, Commissioner Schaefer.
Second.
Commissioner Ely. Further discussion or questions? Call the roll.
Commissioner Allen?
Aye.
Commissioner Bond?
Yes.
Commissioner Ely?
Yes.
Commissioner Schaefer?
Yes.
Commissioner Jordan?
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Gregory. We've got an ambulance service fund budget amendment. You handle that
And
tonight?
we're handling that. You're well aware, all of you, that we continue to try to get as many EMTs and paramedics at the highest level of training possible. We got this process whereby we help them with some tuition reimbursement, et cetera. Anyway, we're asking for $15,000. $6,366 is currently left over from previous funding in that account. And then out of fund balance, $8,134, and in addition to that, $500 that they've already collected this year, I believe. So
And we want to make a change just to those two numbers because
Okay.
7,000 came in today.
oh,
So,
good for you.
so
Contribution.
what we will do is increase contributions to gift to 7,500 and then the
15 goes to 8.
yeah, the
I know.
8,000, no, the 8,134 goes to 1,134.
Gonna let you go first
Yeah.
there.
No, that's good.
Has everybody got that perfectly clear in their head?
No, walk me through that one more time.
It's $500, we've got in another 7,000.
Another 7,000.
So it's 7,500 for current year.
Contribution's
So
going to,
this
that's going to stay the same.
All we
It's
need
still
is
15,000.
We're only going into fund balance budget
Money-
here, the
money
side
coming
of
from fund
the
balance.
$1,100.
Good. Motion to approve.
Thank you, Commissioner Allen. Commissioner Schaefer. Questions or discussion? Call the roll.
Commissioner Allen?
Aye.
Commissioner Bond?
Yes.
Commissioner Ely?
Yes.
Commissioner Schaefer?
Yes.
Commissioner Jordan?
Yes. All right, we've got, Ms. Duke, well, ready for you, I believe. We got a contract for juvenile detention care services for Henderson County.
We do. It is the same contract that you're familiar with, standard, approved by the county attorney, $175 per day. And then the additional PREA language tagged on to the end.
Is this a new relationship or just a renewal?
No, it's new. We've never contracted with them before.
Same as last month's, except for the county.
Exactly.
Motion to approve the
Thank you,
request.
Commissioner Schaefer.
Second.
Commissioner Allen? Call the roll.
Commissioner Allen?
Aye.
Commissioner Baum?
Yes.
Commissioner Ely?
Yes.
Commissioner Schaefer?
Yes.
Commissioner Jordan?
Yes. Getting to me too quick without two people. I'm still doing it. Thank you, Lynn.
Thank you.
Got general fund budget amendment for the sheriff's office.
Not asking for any.
Email.
Only good news.
Where we are.
You can take the first three general fund, or you want to do all five?
We can do all five, I guess.
Just keep going till somebody stops you.
Okay.
Whoa.
First is to move funds recorded in 1617 for insurance recovery to vehicle maintenance and new vehicle accounts is a total of $27,503. Number two will be recognizing $200 donation in K-9, and we'd like to put that $200 in our animal supply. The third would be coming out of unassigned fund balance, this leftover money, donated money, and things of that nature, of $9,151, and we'd put that in $399. And basically, it's Shop with the Sheriff, Greenhouse, Scan, and Explorers. It would be divided into those accounts. Recognizing the THSO grant money in the third quarter now, that will end the 30th. This will be the last money we have to spend. The saturation project, saturation and alcohol enforcement is $17,100. And
It's your first time at a meeting? My sound is off. Sorry, bro.
that's okay. But the alcohol enforcement and saturation programs is $17,100. The teen grant portion and teen driver safety is $6,675.
Any questions on those five?
Motion to approve the request.
Thank you, Commissioner Schaefer.
Second.
Commissioner Allen? Further questions or discussion? Call the roll.
Commissioner Allen?
Aye.
Commissioner Baum?
Yes.
Commissioner Ely?
Yes.
Commissioner Schaefer?
Yes.
Commissioner Jordan?
Yes. We've got a special purpose fund budget amendment.
This is to recognize money for the month of August, $14,982.16. I'd like to recognize that and putting that in our 121 account, law enforcement equipment.
Move for approval.
Thank you, Commissioner Ely.
Second.
Commissioner Allen? Call the roll.
Commissioner Allen?
Aye.
Commissioner Baum?
Yes.
Commissioner Ely?
Yes.
Commissioner Schaefer?
Yes.
Commissioner Jordan?
Yes. And we've got a drug fund budget amendment.
This is where we're giving y'all $490,000 to help us buy a building out of our 122 account.
I don't know what happened to that. It squished it.
Yeah, I think there was a mistake.
Yes, it was a mistake.
It got squished when it printed.
I liked it when it was 650,000.
Yeah.
Then we can operate.
That's gonna be a,
Yeah, we're
going to red.
Is everybody clear on this one?
Move for approval.
Thank you, Commissioner Ely.
Second.
Commissioner Schaefer. Call the roll.
Commissioner Allen?
Aye.
Commissioner Baum?
Yes.
Commissioner Ely?
Yes.
Commissioner Schaefer?
Yes.
Commissioner Jordan?
Yes. And we've got a general fund budget transfer for sheriff's office building.
Can we do this one?
Let Lisa do it.
Yeah.
Oh, the amendment, the rest is to purchase of building, and this provides funding. This recognizes the $490,000 coming in from the drug fund
That we just approved.
that you just approved.
Okay.
And then using $810,000 from the restricted for capital projects, which is development tax that we've held back. So you can see what our balance is 2.8 million when we close our books. In this restricted account, this brings it down to $2,028,000. And we built in 10,000
For closing
hopefully for
costs.
closing cost.
And we've been talking about this off and on for some time.
for several years.
This isn't brand new tonight, so.
I move for approval.
Thank you, Commissioner Ely.
Second.
Commissioner Baum. Other questions or discussion?
When do you anticipate even being in?
We hope to be in by December. We've got some modification we'll have to do as far as security for the building. And I think we're going to allow them about 90 days to vacate, and then that'll give us about 90 days.
Yeah, we're hoping we can close this by October the 31st.
31st. So we might have to fudge that 30 days or so, but that's our intent.
We have much work to do. You said some for security, but will there be any build-out expense or anything inside?
No, the building itself, as far as office space and things of that nature, plus the storage for seized equipment and so forth, is there. One of the things we've asked for, and they have granted, is the existing shelving and whatnot, so we won't have to do any of that.
Okay.
And the office space is adequate for what we want to do with it, so it's going to be securing with some fencing. And then in addition to also alarming the building because of what we're storing there.
What about furniture and fixtures? Do you have things that you'll move over from?
Yes, we'll
current?
move it from our existing location.
Sounds like a good fit.
Yes, and all that, as far as the fencing and whatnot, the anticipation there is it will come out of drug fund money. So.
Okay.
Call the roll.
Commissioner Allen? Commissioner Baum?
Yes.
Commissioner Ely?
Yes.
Commissioner Schaefer?
Yes.
Commissioner Jordan?
Yes. Thank you all.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
We have an amendment to contract with state for county clerk. Ms. Kroll. How are you tonight?
I'm good, thank you. This is basically an amendment to the current contract we have. The end date will stay the same, June 30th of 2018. But due to a higher than expected vehicle inspections, they're increasing it by $150,000. So it's making it available for us to receive that money.
This really is just sort of, I guess, an indemnity against liability of what's happening on this emissions testing. Is that?
Yes. Mhm.
It's really not costing us any real money.
This is
No.
money coming to
Coming us.
coming
Yeah.
into us.
I'll make a motion to approve as presented.
Thank you, Commissioner Allen.
Second.
Commissioner Ely. Call the roll.
Commissioner Allen?
Aye.
Commissioner Baum?
Yes.
Commissioner Ely?
Yes.
Commissioner Schaefer?
Yes.
Commissioner Jordan?
Yes. Thank you, Lisa.
Okay, thank you.
General fund budget amendment for soil conservation. We've got a group here. Everyone come up to the table. Mr. Vaught, Ms. Goodman, and you can introduce our conservationist, because I've forgotten her name. I apologize.
Lydia.
Lydia.
This is Lydia Smith. She's our acting district conservationist. When the federal budgets all get straightened out, we hope she'll be named our real, permanent, but she's right now acting on 120 days. So she's very familiar with Rutherford County. She went to MTSU and she was an employee of our office in the part-time job, one of two part-time jobs at the time. And so she was trained, as part of her training, in our office here. So we consider her a success story. And she's now she's a federal employee. And our obligation in order to keep our federal employees is to keep the office going. So we have, am I going into too much?
Well, I don't know, sometimes it's hard to know how much is too much.
Yeah, I know.
Bottom line is, they've had a budget this year, and they've had part-time budget every year for several years. And that worked good when we had one lady that was well-trained and experienced that wanted to work just part-time. But now, since she's gone, they have been unsuccessful in finding another person that's trained, experienced, and wants to work part-time for the amount of money we've got available. It's become evident that it's going to take a full-time person, and they'd like to get somebody that basically has some sort of experience and training, and maybe even a degree in agriculture of some sort. This young lady here is, she's got more need than she can supply support for, and so the only person we've really got now is a staff person administratively performing some folks in this office. We do not have any person that goes out into the field, and this will give them a full-time person, and they think they can hire a full-time person with some proper experience and education to do this and support what Ms. Smith is doing as well. So.
And as Ms. Goodman alluded to, if we don't provide her the support she needs, we're in jeopardy of losing federal dollars coming to this county and federal support, at least the way I interpret it. So.
And they produced evidence that shows the dollars that our farmers are getting out of these programs. It's in the, I don't know how much of it, it's $700,000 to $800,000 or something a year, I think.
It's not just farmers, it's property owners.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
That was for 2016 year. The funds you're looking at, those can fluctuate depending on, of course, staffing is the main priority to that. The more folks that we can see, the more hands we have on deck to kind of process those contracts. We also get state funds as well. So the portion that you're reading at the bottom that says TDA, the Tennessee Department of Agriculture also gives us money to install these best management practices as well. So this amount can go, of course, increase or it can decrease depending on our years and what money we get filtered through. But the more prepared we are for our contracts, if we're ahead of the game, that kind of sets us up to receive more money. Because other counties, if they're not, we can get that money above them, and also other states as well. Because if other states don't spend their money, we always continuously request more throughout our fiscal year.
We have another request in now for the state, for state money?
Yes, the last request I sent in for state money was $225,000. That was based on the workload that I have of folks coming in now. We could spend that money if they give it to us. That's also very ambitious because they don't generally give us that large of a lump sum. However, when we can show them the evidence that we can spend it, so we're waiting to hear back from them how much more we can receive out of that amount.
Y'all might think there are less farmers in the county, and there are, and there are less farms, except when some of these farms get tracked up, they end up into 2 or 3 or 4 smaller tracts. If one of those people, one of those families comes in, one of those landowners, and they request services, whether she can help them or not, she still has to go out and make the visit because it is a federal office, and see if she can help. You know, there is help for them to do, and so the number of farms may not be going down technically from her standpoint, if that makes sense.
Total acres farmed may be going down, but number of farms is probably rising.
At least holding steady
Yeah.
just by that. And if somebody with 10 acres and 50 goats wants to come in, and there are, or she has programs that are available for, even if they make a call, previous district conservationist Chris Hancock says, I've got to go out and check it. So there is a big workload there. And we do also administer some local funds that come from y'all in the city of Murfreesboro, and a real successful program. This person would do some of that. They work with schools, they work with Oakland, they work with the group that Commissioner Allen, I'm sorry, is familiar with down at Smyrna, and probably one of the initial things they did before I got on the board.
That's the All Saints Church that you're talking about? Yeah. Very successful
They
project.
were one of our very first crop. That's the name of our program that we, that the county commission started with our funding, and of course you all have increased it, and it's been very successful. But All Saints, the church, they were one of our very first projects.
There's actually a movie been made about it.
I just saw that movie this past week. If you
know,
haven't
you're
seen
familiar
it,
with
please
what I'm talking
go.
about.
Please go. It's only going to be on for another week.
It's only going to be on like another
Another
week, and he
week.
had to guarantee a certain number of tickets,
750.
and he needs people there.
Charlie and I went last night, that we were the only 2 people in the whole movie theater for the 8 o'clock showing. But it's true, those events happened.
And the board had a small portion.
We're not in the movie, but we were there at the beginning.
Do you feel comfortable that the $30,000 salary is sufficient to get the caliber of person you want? I mean, if you look, you know that's a competitive salary, or you think that's just at the bare minimum?
We'll take more if you want to
I'm
put
just
it in.
curious.
I might apply for the job
Yes.
then.
Well, really what we're looking at comparative to other counties, these positions, as far as a lot of times it's local people that want to stay, which is great, because on the federal end, I had to move several times as part of the transition for training. So I think it would be good, especially on the aspect for Rutherford County, to know the county, know some of these farms or be familiar with the area. So 30,000 is competitive. I think between 30 and 35 is generally what you'll see for that range. And of course, based on experience, if we get someone, that's new coming out of college with that degree, room for them to grow, that's always something that's an incentive for them to be like, okay, I see room for growth here. So we're trying not to be too greedy to begin with, but yes, I mean, if more, of course, always benefits like they said, the caliber that we see coming through applying for the job.
I just know you said you hadn't been able to fill it from a part-time standpoint, so I just want to make sure you're going to be able to fill it at that rate for full-time.
Yes.
Well, it was much lesser, and we had 4 applicants, and none of them showed, or one of them?
We had appointments of 4 applicants and none of them showed, and we confirmed the appointments, and we sat there and none of them showed. They said they couldn't make the numbers work as part-time.
The benefits will be a huge thing, too. I think that's a huge thing. What we're probably hoping to get is someone coming out of MTSU with a soils or at least a plant soil degree, probably, or an ag business degree, that can do, they'll use it, and hopefully we'll get 5 to 6 years out of someone before they move on, because we do have an investment in training in this. But we're looking at, based on other counties writing a job description and getting it over to HR if y'all will approve this. So.
Mr. Mayor, you helped put this together. You do recommend this, do you?
Yes, sir, I do recommend this. It's a net increase from the 21,900 they've got to 42,880, so it's $20,980 that we have to take out of fund balance. But basically, we need to do this because they can't meet the demand.
I'll make a motion to approve as presented.
Thank you,
My
Mr.
question,
Brown.
I'll second.
Commissioner Schaefer? You got another question?
Well, I got something, I want to ask about the movie.
Oh, the movie.
Where is it showing?
Oh, at the Jackson Heights
Jackson.
Premier 6.
Okay, that's the only one that it helps. And if you go there, you just say what's...
That's a locally owned theater, by the way, and
Okay.
they're showing it at 2, 4, 6, 8, and 10.
So we can make the 8.
There's only
We're here because of the soil conservation.
Thank you. That'd be great.
We've got a motion and a second, and we know when the movie times are now. Call a roll.
Commissioner Allen?
Aye.
Commissioner Baum?
Yes.
Commissioner Ely?
Yes.
Commissioner Schaefer?
Yes.
Commissioner Jordan?
Yes. This will move to the full commission next Thursday night, and then as this is coming out of unassigned fund balances, will be up for debate. This will not be on the consent agenda, so it may fly right through, and then you might want to try and be in the audit just in case there's some questions. I'll let you make that call yourself.
There was an article in Guidepost magazine about this.
Okay.
I hadn't heard some of it before over there, but that's where I found out more. Well, that was the lead actor, that's who they were talking about.
Well, after Michael Spurlock, the priest out there, I mean, he felt like when he was walking next to the creek down there that God spoke to him about these people. So he went to Extension, and they brought him to us. And it just worked out that the day he went to see Extension, our meeting, our once-a-month meeting, was the very next day. And all of us involved, other people involved all the way through this, have felt that we were participating in something really special. And they were walking 10 miles to take English lessons. And they desperately wanted to be assimilated into this country. And they were working so hard. And in the movie it says the chicken plucking plant was in Murfreesboro, but of course it was in Shelbyville. You know.
They've had some of their children have been in Rutherford County schools get up to high school. I don't think they want to go back to Burma
No.
anymore.
And they sure don't want to hear it referred to as Myanmar, because they were chased out. They were farmers,
Yeah.
and they were chased out. And their stories about before they got here were harrowing. And we're so blessed in this country. Beacon of hope for the rest of the world.
Well, thank you very much, and hopefully this will go through next week, and we'll move on from there.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Y'all have a good evening.
You too.
We've got a request for authorization to apply for TDEC grants for solid waste. Papa Smurf, come on and join us.
How are y'all?
Good, how are you?
I'm doing good.
And we got an 8 o'clock movie to make.
I gotta go back to work. I probably want to start with the recycle rebate grant. Is that what you got first?
Recycling equipment.
They are listed, as you said, in your
They're
email.
on the same piece of,
Yes.
Recycle rebate grant is,
here's what's on there.
okay.
But there they are right there.
It's the grant that we've been getting for a long time. Last year they changed it. It was the top 11 counties in the state shared in a pool of money based on population. Now it's the top 5 counties, which we're 5th right now. And we actually share that pool of money that we're eligible for with the city of Murfreesboro. So we're eligible for roughly a little over 50,000 total, but about 33.2 is what, if Murfreesboro takes any of theirs, then we get what's left. But I think Joey's planning on using it for rebuilding his grinder. But that's something that we do every year. The next one is listed there is convenience center grants. The state started 2 years ago with convenience center grants. They have a pool of $1 million to grant up to 10 convenience center grants for $100,000 each. Last year there was only 2 applied for, and as far as I know this year there's only going to be 2 applied for. They're not intended for a county of our size, but I figure if we apply and nobody else is applying, we may get one. And it's up to $100,000. And then recycling equipment would be the grant. What we wanted to apply for that for is a measurement part of it. We may not get it because the first part of the grant is 4 steps. Ask if you can meet these or can't meet these. And our answer is the opposite of what they want on all 4 of them. You know, we don't need help trying to get enough recycled commodities, and we don't need help trying to fund the landfill and those type of things. But what we want to apply for is a car counting system, where we can count all the vehicles at each location. And if we are awarded a grant, we want to do it at 17 locations, all 14 of our centers, our Haley Road location, our Landfill Road location, and the City of Murfreesboro's location. Currently, we can track by disposal, by weights, all the commodities that leave the center, but we don't have any way to calculate how much per person. You know, pounds per person is what they like to see, and we don't have a way to do that. So this would help in that matter. And then used automotive fluid. It used to be called a used oil grant. They've changed it so it's more automotive. It is not a matching grant. It's a 100% grant. If you build a new convenience center and apply for this grant at the same time, they'll give you more money. So that's where that large amount of money comes from. So if we build a new center and apply for this grant, we'll get the large amount. Putting it in existing centers, you don't get as much. The grant has a lot of things that you can apply for, one of which, or 2 of which, is used oil heaters that you use in shops to burn up the oil. Right now, we could use 2. We don't have a location to use any more than that. There's almost $9,000 in there for a used all trailer to haul the equipment with. We wouldn't need but one. So all the grant applications would not be identical because we don't need all the duplication of equipment.
Do you take in used oil now? Anywhere?
Currently, we do not. We have enough locations here within the county with the oil changing business and the automobile parts dealerships that will take up to a gallon per person. So our residents actually have it good where they can go. We're the only large county in the state that doesn't have one of these. So TDEC is pushing us really hard to apply.
I just hope it's not getting poured out the fence row somewhere or something like that. You
Right.
know, it's a-
I don't think that is. And this year, we're going to get 2 household hazardous waste. Our first one was in the spring, which we do that at City of Murfreesboro's Moulds facility. And we received more old gasoline, diesel fuel, and motor oil than we ever have before. And the only thing I can figure is spring is coming, everybody's getting their equipment ready to mow the yard, wasn't quite ready to mow yet. And they actually had a place to get rid of it instead of saving it till November. We haven't been getting it in November. So I'm not sure they've been saving it or if they were taking it to these other places. But we'd like to get permission to apply for these. If we're awarded, we'll find out after October. You don't actually get the money until after January 1, and you have to be completed with all projects by, they say, the end of December, but they want the equipment installed by September 30th.
On the ones that are matching, they say it's 10 to 50%.
Ours is 50.
Ours is 50.
Well, how is it to the poundage that cars, vehicles, how does that help us? Or does it just help the state?
Well, it would help the state, but a lot of times you'll hear people talk about, you know, this group of people that generate X number of pounds per person, per day, per week, per month, whatever. Our calculation in the school system is 30 kids generate 1 cubic yard of trash a week. And we do that on the volume of the containers, how many containers are at the schools, and then the days that we run, and we can back into that. And what we do that for is to cause them to recycle better, because the schools buy their own containers, and they bought 20 and expect us to service 20, but only need 5. There's a cost of operation just to dump an empty container. So we've came up with that calculation, and it works pretty doggone well. The City of Murfreesboro's calculation is 25 students generate cubic yards because they do the feeding program. And they serve way too much food, but they have to throw it away. So their trash volume actually went higher when they started that program.
That would be less though, would it not? If we're doing 20 kids to create a yard of cubic yard and 25 kids, that'd be less per child.
No, he said
We're
30.
at 30.
Oh, we're at 30, okay.
The county schools are at 30.
Yeah,
the city
okay,
is
all right, I thought it was
25.
20 and 25, it's 30 and 25.
Can
okay.
you narrow individuals using this? I mean, like, what I'm getting at is there's certain people in this county that come around with a pickup truck that go around and get their neighbors' trash and bring it all in at once. And this type of thing, and then their neighbors give them a little.
And that's not supposed to be happening.
No, I know.
This would be similar to what you see on the highway where they put the strip across and count the cars as they cross it. So as far as identifying the vehicles, no. Now, there's some funding available that I'm not ready for us to ask for camera equipment and surveillance type equipment, all that. Knox County did that 2 years ago, and they found out a lot of things. They had some residents that got in trouble, and some of their employees got terminated. You know, just because you could see what was actually happening in the centers. There's no way for us to see that.
To put that car counter in, is that something that you want to do as a snapshot in time, or is that going to be a permanent install?
It'd be a permanent install, and it'd have software and computer stuff to where all that information comes back to one system to where you can generate reports. In the past, TDOT has actually put some stuff out for us. 2012, December 10th, 11th, and 12th, they put one at each of our centers for that weekend. And it snowed on December the 12th. Our car count at Weekly Lane, if you take those 3 days and turn it into 5, it's 3,500 cars a week. That's in 2010. I'm anxious to see what it is today. Because it snowed, a lot of people stayed home on Sunday. Las Casas, which is not normally number 2, was actually the second busiest center with 2,000 cars. Normally Sand Hill is number 2. Almaville number 3. Walter Hill and Rock Crusher kind of share 4 and 5. Our heavier populated areas tend to have that. And then something I'll mention along with that, the heavier populations is where most of our trash comes from. Our funding does not come out of property tax, it comes out of sales tax
In the rural area.
in the rural area. So our funding, our centers are being more funded by the rural area people and no funding from those large populations. If you live in Murfreesboro and buy all your groceries and gas and everything else in town, you're not contributing anything.
Well, you've heard the recommendation.
That's before. We don't have any money in the budget for this. So if we get approved and have to do this, we'll need to go in the fund balance and pull the money back.
We'll have to go back to Public Works before we can accept any of these that we do get some grant approval on, and then come back.
But we get to make a decision to accept or not. This is
Yes.
just to apply.
This is just to
And
apply.
we'll get another look at it. This is not necessarily obligating us to spend these dollars.
Right, and we don't have the dollars in place
Yeah.
to spend anyway.
Yeah, so if we do get awarded it and we get heartburn over this, that it's gonna cost too much, we can always just reject it.
That's correct.
Doesn't hurt to ask, in my opinion.
But most of this is not going to take place until next fiscal year anyway.
By the time the awards and you have to put out for bid and everything else, they have to approve your bid specs and your bid proposals. So yes, you're right, it'll be 2017-18 budget year before any of these dollars are truly captured. You have to spend the money and then ask for reimbursement.
18-19.
18-19.
Yeah,
18-19
18-19.
fiscal year, yeah.
Does planning or Greg, does anybody already have a traffic counter? For some reason I had it in my head we were.
Planning's got 1 or 2, so
Yeah.
he
they
needs
do.
17.
Right. Well, I was
He
just
wants
thinking.
them permanently too, though, but he
Right,
could
it's-
borrow one, I would think. I
Right.
mean, I know planning has got,
They got one that we've,
One or
they got
two.
3 that we're talking about using even right away though, for some analysis on some road improvements that need to be considered.
I was just curious because I'm like, if it's going to be months and months before you can even get it, and we need the information sooner. I thought we had some somewhere.
Well, the intention is to be able to capture that moment in time across the county. Because we have a lot of residents that will go to one center to dump a load, go load another one. We don't let them come back to that one. So they may hit as many as 3 centers in the same day. And that, having those counters, we don't, well, you can't capture that.
I'll make a motion to approve as presented.
thank you, Commissioner Allen.
Second.
Commissioner Ely. Call the roll.
Commissioner Allen?
Aye.
Commissioner Baum?
Yes?
Commissioner Ely?
Yes.
Commissioner Schaefer?
Yes.
Commissioner Jordan?
Yes. Motion passes.
Thank you very
Thank you,
much.
Mac.
Now, the school board found extra money to fund, so they might find money to fund this too.
Well, there's.
I heard you go into that.
And he's not leaving to.
We've got a regional transport authority contract.
This is
Mayor,
standard
hope you can handle that,
contract.
'cause we're running out of people.
And this money is in the budget. It's just, this is permission to actually sign the agreement that will allow us to spend the money that's been put in the budget.
Motion to approve as presented.
Thank you, Commissioner Allen.
Second.
Commissioner Ely.
Is this the same as last year?
I don't know what's exactly the same or not,
It's
Lisa.
exactly the
It's
same,
exactly the same, okay.
49,220.
Feel better for one.
Call the roll.
You can get us my information if you would like.
Money in
We've already budgeted this money.
Oh, okay. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Good. Just saved you 4 seconds work right there. Have we got anything else to come before us tonight? Not, we are adjourned. Thank you very much.
Did you want to keep that for your?